Welcome back to the Trauma Therapist Podcast. My name is Guy McPherson. My mission is to help trauma therapists be their incredible selves, to be human, to be real, not just a clinician. I'm a big believer in who we are is more important than what we know. And this requires cultivating authenticity, genuineness, and vulnerability, and that requires intention. You can learn more about my courses and workshops by going to thetraumatherapistproject.com. That's thetraumatherapistproject.com. Let's get started. All right. So 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, folks, welcome back to the podcast. I am thrilled to have as my guest today back, Doreen Hills. Doreen, welcome.
Thank you.
So Doreen is the founder, director at the Center for Healing Trauma and Attachment. Their mission is to provide cutting-edge treatment approaches in healing traumatic distress, and they're committed to finding ways to provide quality and affordable therapy and to be the pioneer in healing trauma in the Northeast region of Colorado. Sorry, I'm going to have to edit that out. This one got a little bit too. Doreen has been a mental health provider for over 20 years and has worked in various mental health settings in New York, Philippines, and Colorado. Her background includes intense and immersed experiences working with poverty-stricken fishermen in the Philippines, orphans that were severely neglected and abandoned, as well as Muslims in Manila. These experiences gave her immense insight to trauma, resiliency, and healing. Doreen has conducted and facilitated trainings, workshops, and presentations in Morgan County and neighboring Northeast counties in Colorado on topics of attachment, trauma, neuroscience, vicarious trauma, and self-care, among others. Doreen, welcome to the podcast.
So excited to be here, Guy. Thank you.
So, all right, you have an incredible background, a rich background. How did this start for you? How were you pulled to do this work?
I think in the previous podcast we had, I shared that my history of being in the Philippines, the challenges that I've experienced growing up, as well as, the difficulties, the environmental stress, the difficulties that our people experience, poverty, violence, that it's a third world country, gave me so much insight and also a lot of reflection on in terms of what career I would like to, I would like to carry, I would like to proceed on. And I think I've always had a passion in working with people. I don't like to see people hurting. I don't like little kids, cry, seeing them crying, like half naked kids crying on the streets with no sandals, and it broke my heart. And I've seen that growing up, and I've experienced and witnessed that, and that was my, really became my motto. It became my vision and mission in life growing up. I was just I was a young kid, and I said I wanted to help, and making help very accessible to people. I did not get a chance to do it there. And I feel, there's that sense of emptiness and hole in me that, I did my internship there and then moved to the United States. And I feel like there's that sense of abandonment, like I did not get to do it in the Philippines, but I was able to do it here. And that's when I decided to develop the trauma center here in Northeast. And the purpose of that is, twofolds here. One is to help those that are underserved and giving them the best and, the most appropriate way of helping, heal trauma, and also making it accessible. Because I would like people to access mental health just like they access physical health or medical, physical health resources. It should not be different. And that's when the trauma Center for Healing Trauma and Attachment bloomed. Really, I've interviewed a lot of people. Like 6 months, I interviewed community residents, professionals, and asked them, what do you guys think of having a trauma center here in Northeast?
Wow.
Everybody, I did not hear anyone opposing me. Everyone said, yes, we need this so bad.
So before you started, you did that.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, I could have started, right? I could have just started like, hey, but I think having the feedback from the community members is so important for me. I wanted to honor people's opinions and what they think about the need here in Northeast. And so I did a 6-month interview. I just, visited with folks, community members, leaders, nonprofit agencies, and asked them, what do you guys think of this? What do you want it to see happening? What do you have in mind? What does it look like for you? And so I compiled those information. And I always believe that trauma-informed care it's not a one-way street. It's not your way. That's just not my way. You've got to look at other people's thoughts and ideas and bringing them all together.
So starting a program, a center like you did is incredible. I mean, congratulations to you. Now starting it as a woman of color, coming from come on, right? I mean, I'm assuming there were some challenges there.
Yeah, big time.
What did you encounter? What were they for you? How did you deal with those?
I think the biggest encounter, the biggest challenge I had was that internal warfare, that's thinking, that shitty feeling of, can I do this?
Who am I?
Who am I? How dare you? How dare you do this? You should have more degrees than what you have. Who are you? Kind of those imposter syndrome kicking in. I think that was my biggest challenge. That was my enemy.
So how did you deal with it?
The enemy. What's that?
How did you deal with that?
So I stepped back and I went back to, I had that image of an anchor in my brain, in my mind, went back to my roots, and I asked myself, okay, why are you doing this? What is your passion? What's keeping you going? What is the root? What is the history? Where did you come from? And when I answered that, and I answered, I wanted to serve because I don't want to heal. I don't want to see people hurting. And that's, coming back to my roots of, seeing kids struggling and families struggling, then it gave me back that purpose. And all those, those insecurities that I had in mind, I mean, they keep on poking and prodding, but the next thing I said, no, I will do this. It doesn't matter if I'm a person of color. It doesn't matter if maybe sometimes my English is broken or, somebody has to tell me, I have to ask somebody to repeat themselves to me, or I fail. I have my anchor there. My anchor is I want to help people, and I think I can do it.
That is so friggin' inspiring. Did you have people who inspired you? Did you have heroes you were looking up to, if even they were people in books or whatever?
I read this book by Salvador Minuchin. I've watched him. He went to Denver one time. I was a new clinician. That was in 2006. I came from New York to Colorado, just kind of like settling in here. And I watch him. And I think what really made me feel sync with this therapist who's been a pioneer of family therapy, structural family therapy, is his groundwork, his humility of actually sitting with the family. And I'm talking about when I said sitting, is immersing himself in that family dynamic and understanding them and being with them, not just somebody typing their diagnosis and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I read his book about structural family, and at the end of the book, he's given so much rich information, but at the end of the book, he says, "Okay, I would like you to." It's kind of like this is the message that I got from it. Close this book. Remember what you learned, but be who you are. Don't forget who you are. And when I read that, I said, holy cow, it's so important to always come back to who you are as an individual, no matter what. You may know some of these techniques, these strategies, but it goes back to you as an individual, you as that unique person. And I think I use that as my guide when I'm in doubt, because I think, entering the world of nonprofit is a different beast. I'm a clinician by trade. I did not know how to run a nonprofit agency, let alone, understanding the 501c3, all that stuff. So
how did you learn that?
What did you do? I did? Yeah, I reach out again. I remember having Minuchin, because he's my hero. He's my mentor. He doesn't even know that, but his voice, just I remember just that magnet in him. But I also, besides that, I also connect with nonprofit folks here in our area. And I actually asked them, okay, this is my vision. This is what I wanted to see to help people that experience trauma, but I don't know how to run a nonprofit agency. Help. And that's it. And I think there is that I have to open something in me that whatever they say, I need to be willing to hear them, not only hear, but listen to what they say. Because I don't know much about this. I know my vision. I know what I want, but the intricacies of understanding nonprofit, the grant writing, all that, that's all new to me. And so I open my ears and my heart to understanding what they tell me.
All right, let's just pause here for a second to thank our sponsors. All right, we are back. Yeah, I mean, it sounds so easy, but we all know that it's very, very challenging and it's very hard. I mean, to move into the space of creating your own center, creating a nonprofit, we hear about these things, but it's so challenging, and you did it. You're doing it, and you're an inspiration to so many new. I remember when I was in graduate school, right out of graduate school. Actually, I was doing a lot of commuting. You were the kind of person I was listening to, and I mean, you're like doing it. That's so inspiring. So, what are you doing now in your center? What kind of trainings are you offering? What kind of workshops? What is the goal there?
Mm-hmm. So I learned to wear many hats. I love to do clinical work. So I'm still doing, clinical work. That's part of who I am. Nobody will take that away from me. But I also do workshops, trainings, just to kind of, break the cycle or just shake it up a little bit. I do that. And I also do grant writing, administrative work, which is another whole agenda or whole arena of leadership, leadership stuff with working with your staff. So I'm doing a lot. And I think the risks of this, I love my work. I'm very passionate. And if I can, you probably will still see me, 80, 85, 90-year-old, Asian woman, little Asian woman still working. I love this. this is my, the trauma center is my baby. And, it's just wonderful. But, doing the other work can also put you in a risk of burnout.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think just self-care is very, very important here. So yeah, I do a lot of work. I've done, in fact, we're doing a lot of trainings right now as well.
So are these trainings for other clinicians?
So I wanted to share this. We are actually under Foundation Trust with Joseph Spinazzola and his wonderful, amazing, amazing team with the Complex Trauma Training Consortium. It was really a blessing and such an honor to be invited to be a trainer. We have the trainer training program there. Joseph invited me to be part of this program, and
Wow.
we're going through the whole, the different modules of complex trauma. So innovative trainings that we share with providers, teachers, with the community, so they understand it.
Now, Joseph Spinazzola is a very well-respected author. Is he a clinician also? Share with our listeners who he is.
So Dr. Joseph Spinazzola, he is also a mentor and somebody that I admire highly. He is the founder of the Foundation Trust. And he developed this really amazing, program with it's called the Complex Trauma Training Consortium that it is an expansion of helping clinicians to be trainers, to be master trainers of complex trauma, to share it with the people, with communities. And we are the Colorado hub. And so it is really an amazing opportunity to be part of this very intensive program.
That is incredible. So people listening to this are therapists of all kinds, coaches of all kinds, survivors of all kinds. Who do you want to know about your trainings and workshops? I mean, are these trainings and workshops online? Are they in person? Both? How do they work?
So it really depends. We just completed 2 trainings. It's actually a free training, and we did it free webinar. The first one is complex trauma and domains of impact. And that was, we offered that free webinar under free webinar. And then the second one was complex trauma, screening and assessment. So that was free webinar. We're going to have something coming up, which is in person, and we're hoping to reach to, most part of Northeast Colorado. And this is on Complex Trauma 101. So, we let people know how, what we use. Sometimes we do it under webinar, and sometimes we do it under in person. So this is a good opportunity in this podcast to share that.
Yeah. We'll have all this linked up here at the show notes page at the traumatherapistpodcast.com. So why is it important for you to be, I mean, you're a leader. Why is it important for you to be a leader, and specifically for young clinicians of color?
We always just think, I think, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I think when we become, that full-blown, full-time clinicians, we think that we're just only, constrained or limited in doing that. I think what I've learned over the years and, developing this trauma center is we do have that sense of advocacy and also leadership in us. I think it is so important to show that to new clinicians, especially, clinicians that are, I'm a person of color. Oftentimes we can be overachievers And it's because we're passionate. I mean, I am passionate in what I'm doing, but also wanting to just do things right. But then you're struggling with insecurities. And I think it is important to have that leadership, that leadership mentoring as well. Be taught by people that are supportive of you to run these programs, to be able to, to have someone to visit with when you're having those insecurity moments. I think therapy has a lot of leadership into it. In fact, we can be really amazing leaders. Why? Because we already have the characteristic of, that unconditional positive regard, that listening, we master that really. We may not realize that, but we master that. And that those are some things, assertiveness, those are powerful leadership characters. And so, asking ourselves, how do we promote that? How do we let it come out of us is very important. That's very important.
And what would you say to the people listening who would say to themselves, Doreen, that's great. I can't do what you do. I don't have that strength in me.
I always believe that there's always, instead of saying the can't, we can. And I know it sounds easy, but it doesn't have to be complicated. Things don't have to be complicated. In fact, simplicity is better than, simplicity is achievable. And I just tell people, just be patient, because we're all, we all grow in so many ways. I was in my 20s before. Those are just dreams. And now what it is, it's happening now. So it's just that patience, you just got to be patient with yourself. You got to be kind to yourself. Give yourself that space where you are surrounded by people that actually will support you, not harm you. Now, I know there's that maturity, there's that age of maturity there. But I think when someone hears that, so let's say a new clinician hearing that you can do this, just never give up, and somebody hearing it, because when someone is, and I remember this guy, when I am going through difficult moments or that nasty, yucky insecurity, what comes to mind? I try to pull the images and the statements of the people that care for me, like, you can do this, Doreen. That's possible. You don't suck. You can do this. And so that's what I tell myself. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. I mean, it's you're so inspiring. My God. As we kind of wind down here, share with our listeners the best way to get in contact with you. We'll have your website again, the Center for Healing Trauma and Attachment, listed here at the show notes page. Is that the best contact info? What would you say?
Yeah. So there is they can contact me through the website. It's the karainc.org. They can also call that number that's on the website. So we'll make it easy for people to reach out.
Okay. Awesome. Doreen, come on. You're amazing. Seriously.
Thank you.
Come on. Seriously, this is why I'm doing this podcast. To talk to people like you. Passion exudes from you, emanates from you about the work you do. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate this.
All right. Take care.